So, Sally, wir sind in Lockhart, Texas. Heute sind wir eingeladen von Matt von Millscale. Wie ihr wisst, ich habe einen Millscale Smoker und bin ein Riesenfan. Und Matt zeigt uns jetzt gleich mal seinen Shop. Da werdet ihr auch sehen, warum ich Millscale Smoker so liebe, weil die Typen sind einfach handwerklich absolut erste Sahne. Ich nehme euch jetzt mal mit rein. Wir gehen durch den Showroom und dann treffen wir Matt. Kommt mal mit. Jetzt pass auf, das Erste, was du natürlich siehst, ist so ein richtig geiler Backyard-Smoker. Und der ist tatsächlich auf dem Niveau von meinem großen 1000-Gallon-Pit. Und ihr seht schon, das ist alles massiv hier und ist richtig geil gemacht. Vor allem hier mit diesen typischen Millscale Messing-Nieten da drin. Das ist tatsächlich 1:1 mein Smoker in klein. Wenn wir auf den Preis gucken, nicht erschrecken. Weil die Dinger sind einfach geil. Natürlich kostet das was. Ich packe euch mal den Link vom Johann Fritzl von Holy Smoke in Schweden. Guter Freund von mir. Der hat einen riesen BBQ-Spot in Schweden. Der importiert die Smoker. Aber jetzt gucken wir erstmal. Merch ist natürlich auch meins. Aber sowas ist natürlich ein absoluter Männertraum. Wenn du so einen Grill hast, wo du... Oh, schaut euch das an. Der ist jetzt verriegelt. Aber das ist so schön mit der Fettrinne. Da drauf kannst du geil grillen. Dann deine Plancha-Platte. Schön die Höhe regulieren. Fein. Und was hier so ein bisschen nach Folterwerkzeug aussieht, wir haben hier einen Korb, wo wir Holz verbrennen können. Und das ist einfach schön gemacht und es ist einfach massiv und schwer und hält für die Ewigkeit. Ich bin gerade total verliebt. Eigentlich würde ich ganz gerne jetzt die Kreditkarte rauchen lassen. Aber ich kriege den leider nicht mehr ins Handgepäck. Und das wäre mein absoluter Traum. Hier hinten das Feuer machen. Du hast hier unten die Schamottsteine drin. Das ist schon geil. Aber wir sind eigentlich nicht für Grills hier, sondern wir sind hier für Offset-Smoker da. Weil mein Herz schlägt für Barbecue, wobei Grillen ist auch was Geiles. Jetzt treffen wir mal den Matt. Hi Matt, how are you?
Good, welcome.
I already told the audience that we're having a tour and I'm pretty curious to see what you're doing at your workshops. As you know, I'm a big fan of your offset smokers and it gets bigger and bigger in Germany. So where do we start?
Well, let's start where the smokers are built. Let's go to the shop.
Okay, so Matt nimmt uns jetzt mit in die Werkstatt und dann schauen wir uns mal an, was da passiert. This is where the magic happens.
Luckily, our team is clocked out for the day, so we have the place to ourselves where it's nice and quiet. No fear of sparks flying or anything like that. But
I'm not afraid of those.
I don't think you're afraid of fire.
How did you come up with the idea to build offset smokers?
We're first generation Texans. So we were born in Texas, but our mom is actually from Madeira, Portuguese island. Our dad's from California, but we grew up in a small town. There's a barbecue pit in every backyard, and so it was a very familiar monument in our childhood, and we had barbecue, but it was much different than what we are experiencing today, especially being close to Austin, Houston, San Antonio. It was always been around. We grew up grilling with our dad and our mom, we ate a lot of vegetables and seafood, so we had this kind of blend of live fire and beef and barbecue and things like that. Caleb is my brother and the co-founder and my partner in Millscale, so we own the business together. I'm 4 years older, so we've been working together our whole lives. So we grew up working with our dad.
So you're the boss?
Depends on the conversation. He's a big guy.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if it's an arm wrestling match, I'm not the boss.
Okay, but you smart him out.
We'll see. Caleb and I have been working together our whole lives. We learned different trades at a young age. Welding was one of them. So, but the one that we really latched onto and got really excited about. So we left our small town in our 20s, came to Austin, and at that time, Austin was experiencing this barbecue renaissance that we all know, and social media was also becoming a new tool in everybody's life at the same time. And so we were looking at barbecue in a completely different way than the way we saw it growing up. Cooked in the same tools that we've been seeing, but there's so many different varieties of barbecue pits. I mean, it's really hard to define what is a barbecue pit. It's a meat cooked with fire. Yeah,
we have been to Salt Lake with these open pits. We've just seen the old ones at Smitty's from 1898. But I fell in love with the offset pits.
Same. And so we saw that, what we believe is that the simplest design is the best design, and we like to keep things simple. We like to focus on function first and performance first. We like to make things look cool, but we also like to
they are very cool.
Things look a little bit more raw and slightly more aggressive, because when we were seeing barbecue pits at that time, most of them were like candied paint jobs and chrome and a lot of gadgets and things like that, and we just wanted to strip it down. Like, we grew up with our dad who was like building hot rods and old American classic cars, and so that was kind of like our approach to barbecue, was like making like hot rod. We feel that a welder has a responsibility to build something that will last forever, because they have the ability to do so, and so you get to create this monument that will outlive you. And there's this like really strong emotion that comes with like, we can build something and then sell it to you, and then you can pass that down to your children, and it will live on as a legacy. And the story
built for
will be
a lifetime.
told. Yeah, and so that's kind of the way we think about our design. And so we never, when we entered the market, our priority wasn't to sell like the cheapest possible barbecue pit. We wanted to make the best possible barbecue pit.
Can we have a look at one of these pits?
Yeah. All of our designs are established. We're in a constant state of developing and designing new products based on our interest, our relationships, our appetite, travel. We're always finding an inspiration to develop new things. It's never ending. That is the fun part of what we do. But what we determined the best use for the business was to create a product line.
Okay.
And so we've established designs for that product line. And so the 1,000-gallon, which you have on skids, is one of those products. So it starts with a design, and then it's sourcing the best materials that we can, laying out the design, so all the measurements, all the cuts, all the parts, all the sub-assemblies, and then we start building it from the ground up. So we build the skids, we build all the sub-assemblies, we build the fireboxes, and then we mount the 1,000-gallon tank onto the skids, make this joint for the firebox, cut the doors, and then the stack, and we just kind of just like start moving through the process. And depending on how our shop manager has all the production and labor allocated, there could be 3 or 4 guys working on one pit, just kind of building it all at once.
Okay. The most important thing for me as a pit master is to have a constant convection going all over the smoker. So what's the secret? How do you manage to do that?
When we think about the designs, we always start with the fire.
Yes.
It always starts there. Where is the fire? How is it contained? How does it breathe? Where does the heat go? Those are the questions that we always ask and start that design. And so when we design like a 1,000-gallon smoker, the first thing would be to think about the firebox and then build everything else around that. And I think that sequence is really important. And I think that a lot of times it's not thought about like that. It's like an afterthought maybe, where you think about the fire afterwards, or they're really excited about the stack, but then they forgot about the firebox. Everything matters. Every detail matters. So the firebox and the smokestack are like 2 things that need to talk to each other.
Yes.
So the airflow is super important. The draw is super important. Not every offset smoker, grill, or barbecue pit is created equal. And there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of bad ones. But I think that the thing that you have to remember is that a smoker is a tool, and we can provide the best possible tool for the pit master. But at the end of the day, the pit master has to have a relationship with the fire.
I can tell you from my experience, since I have the mill scale, the difference, especially with the brisket, it's not even in the same universe. It's so much better because the airflow is constant. This makes my job easier.
I like to hear that. And that's our intention, is to keep it simple, make it easy to operate, easy to manage the fire. The struggles I think that discourage new folks that are getting into barbecue is managing the fire, or like they walk away and they come back and their fire is gone, or it's smoldering, or they come back and it's spiked and it's super hot because grease or whatever issue is going on. And I think that you have to have a healthy respect for the fire, but you need to have a relationship with it where you really are listening to how it burns, you're smelling it, you're cooking with all of your, Tuffy Stone talks about cooking with all your senses, your wood selection. It's just as important as trying to find the highest quality briskets that you can source, or developing your spice blend that you feel is correct. the fire is the exact same way.
And the good thing is with barbecue, it's a lifestyle. So I love to sit behind the firebox, and you said listen to it. And if you listen to your fire, I come to the smoker and I can tell you exactly what it's doing by listening to it because of experience. But you have to get used to working with fire. You have to get some experience. And this is by far the easiest way to run a smoker.
Yeah, and I think also just understanding that it's a process. Like a lot of times you can get confused and get distracted with like the product. And what you have to understand, especially for like new people getting into barbecue, is that you might burn a brisket, and it happens. And maybe you should, to learn how to not do that. And so it's like, it's all a part of the process. And if you have that kind of patience and you know that this is a lifestyle and a long-term, journey, and you're always going to be learning and you're always going to be improving, that's what it's about. And if you have that mindset, that's what you need to listen to the fire.
And I made horrible mistakes on my journey, and I will make mistakes.
Yes.
That's a pit that most people won't consider to purchase for their backyard. Mm-hmm. But you also have backyard smokers, and it might be easier to run a fire on a 1,000-gallon pit instead of a backyard smoker.
I think that pulling a longer trailer is easier than pulling a shorter trailer. It's like a big boat.
Yes.
It has less adjustments that are needed. With that comes a bigger responsibility, and you have the ability with a 1,000-gallon smoker to probably select larger cuts of wood that are more efficient for your time. So there are things that you have to adjust. But I would like to think that it would be the same with the proper amount of education.
This one has a paint job.
Yes.
To be honest, I prefer this one every day, because this one looks exactly the same and has the same function than my 1,000-gallon pit. What is the idea behind this smoker for backyard barbecue? What does make it so special?
The first smokers we ever built were 1,000 gallons. A lot of pit builders start by building something small and then medium and then large and kind of work their way up to 1,000 gallon. For us, we started with 1,000 gallons and then started building smaller and smaller items. And so what we were able to do is apply everything that we learned from building the bigger smokers to the backyard method. We saw early on, especially in the backyard category, is that the smokers were underbuilt in a lot of different ways. The thickness of the steel, most of the times the fireboxes were too small, the firebox doors were too small, the smokestacks were in locations that didn't allow the fire to draw or breathe.
Yes.
Basically, like, there were so many different details that set the user up to fail. And so we were able to take our design philosophy, apply it, and build a backyard smoker that will last a lifetime. And it is more expensive than one that you would find at a discount store, but it's one that's should not be considered as a disposable purchase. So it would be, we like to think of them as like big cast iron skillets. So like a cast iron skillet, if it's taken care of and properly seasoned and maintained, it can get passed down for generations.
This is where it starts. These are propane gas tanks.
Yes.
Are they easy to get?
We have seen that change. The last 5 to 10 years, there's been a lot of change in our country and COVID and things like that. And so
they're so beautiful.
When we first started, I would be driving around Texas just picking them up wherever I could. But now we have a solid source, and so we don't find any challenge in sourcing them. But we've seen it. We've seen the price change a lot. We've seen the availability change, but so far so good for us.
A huge difference to the propane gas tanks in Germany is that we don't have this hemisphere. We have it more like your small propane gas tanks. This would be a typical German design. Do you think this makes a difference?
Every detail does matter, and it will make changes, but it doesn't necessarily keep you from the goal. Because we have experimented with, obviously, these hemispherical tank heads, and we like them a lot for airflow. We like the circular construction of them, and kind of like the turbulence and how the smoke evacuates and how the smoke comes in and is drawn in. But we've also built pits without them.
Have you done aerodynamic tests with these, or Does it just come by evolving step by step, getting better?
It's somewhere in the middle. We've done a lot of testing with different pitmasters at different levels, in different configurations, in different environments. But it's like if you look at the 94-gallon smoker, it's a completely different head than this, but it operates the exact same way.
Let's have a look at the crazy stuff. Your trailer. What is it? F-150? It's a Chevy. Okay.
It's a 1966.
Nice one. So this one has a paint job?
It's only clear coated. So it came with this really beautiful black patina, which is pretty rare to see a black one. We were actually keeping this for us to build it, but our good friend and ambassador, Charlie McKenna from Chicago, he owns Lily's Cube. He really loves black, much like the guys at Holy Smoke Barbecue. Yes. And he really wanted this tank, and we wanted him to have it. So we built this tank for him, and we cleared it. So that gave it the gloss, but we didn't paint it black. Okay. But we did match the paint for the trailer to be more of like a flat matte black.
This is a wet dream.
This is a stainless steel prep table, but this is a table that comes down. Pick up.
And it's massive.
Hinges back up for travel. And then a 60-inch Santa Maria. And then over here, it's a little tight, but that's a fire table that drops down, and then it's a Sato style cooking. So you have all the components that drop in.
Very cool.
So it's like, this rig is a bit of a showstopper and gives you the ability to push out a ton of food, put on a big show, and cook in multiple different techniques.
How much would that trailer cost?
This trailer?
Yes.
Approximately $50,000.
And I'm pretty sure it's worth every penny of it.
If you're doing it right, you'll make it back and a lot more.
I considered having a trailer, but unfortunately the trailers, I won't get a license plate in Germany for them. I have to build a trailer myself.
I know they can get modified and Johan knows a lot about that. Or the European, because we helped him build one for his, because the brakes are different, the axles are different, the lighting is different.
The smile comes back. Let's have a trailer. Natürlich braucht nicht jeder so einen riesen Mill-Scale 1000-Gallon-Pit in seinem Garten, wie ich ihn bei mir im Restaurant habe. Deswegen gibt es die kleine Variante. Matt, what is the important stuff about this mill scale? Why to purchase one of your backyard smokers?
Well, what we're building is what we consider generational heirloom quality products. So we're building with the intention that this pit is going to be used for a lifetime, and if properly cared for, it could be passed down to future generations. So it starts with sourcing the best amount of materials that we can source, and then applying high skills of fabrication, detail, and then utilizing every piece of information we have from cooking experience to working with chefs and pit masters and applying that to the overall design. Outside of that, we try to keep it as simple as possible.
It's pretty massive.
It's pretty massive for a backyard pit. We designed it for Texas, where people have a little bit more space and they're used to bigger cuts of meat and a healthy wood supply. But we've now shipped these all over the world, all over the US. There are ways to build smaller offset pits, but we wanted one that could be perfect for a family, but also to throw a party for 20, 30 people. So this 94-gallon smoker, you can cook 3 to 4 briskets depending on the size and how they're trimmed. And we also have an upper rack, so this could add additional cooking capacity. The temperature is about 25 degrees hotter than the lower cooking grade, which actually can come in quite handy for different types of cook times, different methods, different cuts of meat.
This one is a plancha?
This is a plancha. So
awesome. I want to have that.
This is a firebox plancha. So
can I upgrade my mill scale with the plancha?
As I mentioned, relationships are super important to us, and we really listen along the way, and we always try to learn and make improvements. We were building a 94-gallon smoker for Michael Simon from the Food Network, Iron Chef, and he has a lot of different shows and cookbooks. And we were talking to him, and he was about the 94, and he came down and he was like, hey, we should put a plancha in mine. And he asked for holes in the corners to help clean, but also let a little bit of smoke come in and kind of kiss whatever he has. We were like, yeah, let's do it. So like before we released it, we just kept calling this the Iron Chef because that's him and it's iron. But now, you know, the name of this is the Firebox Plancha. And the idea is that you are fueling your firebox with wood and you're cooking in an indirect cooking method. And that cook could be 1 hour, it could be 16 hours. And what this offers is quicker cook times and a different cooking method. So it's essentially high heat grilling. So you're utilizing the fuel that you would already have in the firebox that you're using to smoke your meat, but now you can sear some steaks or some veggies. You can some burgers. You can close the lid, do a little bit of a roasting, and that way you can feed people a little bit sooner. You can have a little bit of a pit snack as you're cooking, or you can just, you know, be grilling, and you can do a reverse sear. So you can put a tri-tip in the smoker, smoke it, and then finish it on the grill to create a nice crust and finish it there.
If you have such an elite product, which has obviously its price, in Germany, the most people don't do barbecue as much as you guys in Texas. But if you have a more versatile cooking tool at your backyard, you can use it more often.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it adds the amount, the techniques, the cooking capacity. The other thing that I like about it is, you know, cooking in an offset barbecue pit is a very intimate experience because it's usually a pit master spending a lot of time managing the fire, taking temperatures, spritzing, adjusting the damper, those kind of things. And
having a beer.
That door is closed most of the time. And so the magic is kind of concealed until the very end, and that's when you get to share it. And the thing I like about grilling is that you get to, it's a little bit more of a, something that you can share with other people, and they can be a part of the cooking process. They can see it. And we really showcase that on like some of the asado style grills. But there's a different like visual experience between, you know, grilling or direct heat grilling compared to an offset smoker.
Awesome, awesome.
This is cool.
This is massive.
This was Tuffy Stone's idea.
Okay.
So we were building a 94 for Tuffy, and he does a lot of prep, and he likes to apply his French training, his mise en place, his cleaning, and he really wanted a prep shelf. And we were like, okay, well, let's find a way to make that slick. And so if you just reach down here, there's two little buttons, and you push those in, and they drop in, and then that will just click into place.
This is robust. And I thank you very much for your time and for the information. Ich hoffe, die Informationen haben euch weitergeholfen. Da waren sehr viele spannende Sachen dabei. Und dann würde ich sagen, verabschieden wir uns jetzt mal. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.